Good afternoon, everyone. I might just change this around a little bit. Let me stop screen for a second. Let's do that. Let's do this. Right, hello everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to go over some markets of interest as always. Going to go through a bit of strength and weakness and whatnot. Dollar still coming back into the mix as a strong currency at the moment, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll break down a few charts as well. Welcome to the live stream today. I can see we've got Asim here. Host today. I'm in a loss. Oh, that's unfortunate. What have you been trading? Let me know what you've been trading. As always, if there's any chart of interest that you want me to take a look at, then we will take a look at it as well. Yeah. Let's go in. We've got a lot. We had a bit of data out today. We've got a lot of data out this week, to be honest. So we're going to break down a little bit of this data. Then we're going to go through some charts as per usual. Let me just zoom right into this so we can see together what the announcements have been and what we're going to focus on going into this week. So we've already had some data out this week already. We've had retail sales out of Australia. CPI data out of Europe was a big one this week as well. German CPI came in lower than forecast. So did the Spanish CPI as well. GDP out of Germany also coming a little bit lower, but that was Monday. Today, we had manufacturing PMI out of China, which was going to be a big one. That has come in lower than forecast as well. Came in at 49.5 over the previous 50.2. So that's quite interesting to see. Non-manufacturing PMI as well also came in a little bit lower. And we saw the market do a bit of risk on, risk off overnight, as in the market went very risk on today with that yen selling off quite aggressively. So we'll see if that's going to continue. I quite like euro yen at the minute, to be honest, or we'll take a look at some other yen pairs as well as we go through this report. Hi, Vincent. I'm doing really well. Thank you. Hope you're doing great too. We've also got the BOJ Outlook report. Obviously, they held interest rates at minus 0.1%. That was probably the big mover of why we had that risk on event overnight. So that's a interesting development there in that market, considering where the sort of price is of yen at the moment. So yeah, very interesting to see that. What else did we have out today? We had some CPI data, some GDP data out of Canada came in a bit lower as well. We were looking at Euro CAD longs last week, and they seem to play out pretty well. We've also got some other data as well. So we've got the CB Consumer Price Index as well coming out, as well as the New Zealand Employment Change overnight. Sorry, the CB Consumer Confidence has already come out, 102.6. Revised 104.3 as well. So a little bit better data there. I think that's what helped the US kind of gain a little bit of strength as well. And then this evening, we've got some employment change. The big data coming up this week is obviously the ISM manufacturing PMI, and obviously this federal funds rate announcement, 5.5%. The Fed are expected to leave rates unchanged. 2, FOMC statement as well, FOMC press conference coming up. So are we going to see the Fed be a little bit more hawkish in tone, or are we going to start to see them come in a little bit dovish? They had been recently a little bit dovish, but we know seasonally that the dollar can be quite strong, and the data out of the US has been pretty strong recently as well. The last jobs number was over 300,000. So that's going to be interesting. And at the end of the week, we have NFP, which we'll talk about closer to the time. But this is going to be the big day. Tomorrow is going to be a lot of big stuff going on. So we'll be interested to see how all this data pans out. Who have we got then? So Vincent as well. Hi, I'm in a long trade on Euro Aussie from 166.25. Yeah, we can go take a look at that. And Bongo, hi John. Hi Bongo. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, let's dive into some of those charts of interest. Then I'll just pop that up there. So dollar index, obviously, very important chart at the moment. We believe that dollar is going to be a strong currency due to the fact that it's sort of strength, its seasonal strength, its data behind it, fundamentals are really strong at the moment, and we believe that could potentially continue. What we're actually looking for is potential moves up into the 108 handle through here. Sorry guys, I reverted back to MT5 just for those who are looking to see if I'm on TradingView or not. Just on MT5 for now. But yeah, basically this zone in here is what we've been watching for. We've been looking to see how the price reacts to this zone in particular. I'm just going to change the visualization on that so it leaves here. Here we go. So we're looking to see how price reacts to this zone. Do we trade through it? Do we reach the high of it? Essentially, does price come up towards this swing high in here? This is what we're looking at really. That 108 area. If I just grab a label and just pop that on. So round about the 108 handle. That's where I'm looking. Does price come up into that level of resistance there? And how does price react to that? Do we see then sort of sellers start coming in, or do we see price drive above that level? Let me just change the view here so you can see a little bit more in detail the chart. So you can see here, obviously, we're consolidating really at the moment. We're kind of trading between those sort of lows here, around about that sort of 105 spot 50 and the 107 spot 70s. So yeah, it's an interesting market, the dollar. I think that we're probably going to come back to test these 107s. I still like the idea of price coming all the way up into the 108s. In the live stream last week, we talked about the seasonal analysis on the US dollar and the fact that we can often see the US dollar this time of year be very, very bullish. So I like the idea of that remaining. And seeing price come into those key levels of resistance. Now, looking at the 4-hour time frame at the moment, I just plotted a few levels of interest. This level down through here, for instance, was a level around about the 106 spot 20. We also kind of dropped towards a lower sort of level around about the 106 handle, which price has reacted to today, which I found that one on the hourly time frame. You can see that price rallied quite aggressively down through this 105 spot 40 all the way up to the 106 spot 30s, and in between that there was this sort of bearish hourly candlestick. So obviously what's happened is prices found buyers, we've had a slight pause, and then the volume has continued to push higher through there. So that area there was of some importance, I think, going into today, and prices obviously agreed with that. We've come into that point and we've had a significant rally. So it's about how, you know, how does the market move next? I think we've got obviously these type of levels to now come. If people are selling here, then their stop losses are going to be around these levels, and those are in danger now of being taken out. So I like the idea of price coming a little bit higher now and pushing from there. How would I go about looking at potential opportunities? Well, I would normally just plot a few areas of interest. So this zone up here, which we'll put some labels on in a minute. But yeah, that high there is definitely significant. This minor high through here is also significant. And I'll just be plotting all the highs now because we know that sellers have been active around these levels before. So we should expect some kind of potential reaction at those points. So let's pop in a level there. So this is around the 106.75, which is going to be around that high. We have this level in here, which is around about the 106. We're going to call that 106. I'm going to call that 80. 106.80. I like to round it down a little bit. although that doesn't seem to fit the narrative too much. Let's go 106.85. I usually like to use quarter numbers or sort of half numbers and whole numbers, but that's not really fitting that sort of narrative there. Then obviously we've got this 107 level, which are these swing highs through here. So lots of potential areas to look at for price now on the US dollar. What we may actually see happen is price move up into this zone, start to pull back a little bit, come back towards this previous swing high, and then we start to see those buyers start to sort of drive price once more. So yeah, I'll be watching these highs with some great intent, because even if price comes into this level, we might find some selling opportunities at those points, but also they may be targets if price does want to start to bounce and start to go from those levels in particular. Now, obviously, one of the big talking points overnight was dollar yen. If I just flick over to the dollar yen chart now, currently trading at 151.20, which is way above the highs of 150 where we had that initial reaction. So if I just pop this on here, let's just type in 150 so we can see that level. That was the level where we were expecting the sort of intervention, and we had a sort of suspected intervention when we were here previously on the 3rd of October, but price has ignored that now, and we're starting to shoot above that level. And that's mainly because the Bank of Japan are refusing to sort of move away from that negative monetary policy at the moment, and we're just continuing to push to the upside there. So we need to kind of look to see where the next sort of zones are. We know that obviously we're in a bit of a zone here at this current moment in time. Price could easily come up into the 152 handle now, which is this high rounded up through here. So we'll just pop that on there. So it's at 159.93. I'm going to round that to 152. I think that's the next sort of level of importance now for dollar yen, as it was this high that formed back on sort of the 16th of October 2022. So I like the idea of price reaching that level. Whether we trade through that level, again, it's going to be something we have to find out when price gets to that point. We're going to have to try and judge how price reacts. If we do trade through that level, I don't have the data here just to show you right now, but we know there's a level around about the 158 as well as the 160. So I'm just going to pop the 160 in here so we know, and we can just see that on the chart. And we do also have the 158. Well, it's around 157, sort of 50 as well as a bit of a level to look into. So there could be some interesting moves to come really for the yen. And I quite like the idea of being long yen at the moment. Dollar yen could make a good point for it to be able to push to the upside, but we have other currency pairs that we could be looking at as well. Euro's been a fairly strong currency recently. That could be something that we look into. Euro yen I actually quite like in terms of structure and how it's broken out. So let's go pick out Euro yen first, and then Vincent, I'll come on to your Euro Oz. But let's go on to Euro yen first, and we'll have a little look at this, just because let's go to that monthly chart. We've talked about this in the past where there was that sort of accumulation zone on the monthly chart, and we were looking to see if price would sort of trade above that level. Again, I don't have all the sort of access here, but you can see that we've breached this 159 handle, which was a level of interest for us in the past. And if I actually go, it's around about the 168 handle is where the next sort of level of resistance is. So lots of room to the upside here on Euro yen. But look at this sort of trend that we've had. We've had a really strong upward trend. Price has recently been in this consolidation area. We're starting to breach that consolidation now. Don't get me wrong, I'd like to see a daily close above these highs, above this sort of 159 70. So if I just move that up to that level there, I would like to see a close above that 159 sort of 75 area, because that would give me a stronger indication that buyers are happy to trade above this level. What I don't want to see is price come back and close below this level, because then that could lead to a little bit of downside in the market. Now, typically on a week like we have with lots of high impact data, there can be sort of situations where the market does move a little bit more risk off, but because it was the BOJ, then we haven't really seen that. But this level down here is going to be of interest as well, down at this point, if we ever come back to these points in the future. And then obviously the recent swing low that we've had as well. So around about the 157.75, down at the 156s, and also down at the 153s. Anywhere in those levels that price comes back into could be quite interesting, especially this area. You know, you've got that nice little bit of support. We've got a bit of a trend line support running through there as well. If price did ever come back to here, it could be a good spot to see price rise from. But like I said, whether we get back to that, I don't know. I like the idea of price being bullish above here. 4-hour chart showing that we can sustain above here for a while now, but can we close above it on that daily? I think if we start to see this give back a little bit too much, we're in risk of a false breakout, and you know, we could have some trapped buyers in here, which obviously if you want to be long this market, you don't want to be trapped. Sorry, quick question. Bongo, if dollar yen is strong, then which areas are decent to join the trend up? That's a good question. The way you can join the trend is one or two different ways. You could look to maybe try and join it from the averages. So you can see here, if price kind of comes back to the averages and breaks back above, you can see the trend can often continue. If we just kind of look down through here at the past, we can see price comes into the averages, closes above it, rallies, closes back above it, rallies again, close back above it, rallies again. So there's a way that you can use the averages as the dynamic support and resistance here. If price comes back down, closes below it, just wait for a close back above. That could be a way of joining onto the trend here. Another way could be just identifying those key support and resistance levels as well. I like to kind of use sort of areas where buyers have been active in the past. So for instance, this area down through here at 149, that's an area where buyers have come back in. If price was to ever come back to that point, could buyers step in again? On the sort of move here, the only thing we can kind of look at now are those two options. We don't really have any other options. You could look to trade from the swing high, but what I'd be looking at is if price got back to this point, how do we react then? Do you start to go on the lower time frames? Do you see the changes with buyers coming in? If you do, then you've got the opportunity to then, you know, go long and try and trade towards that point. Other than that, we might have to just wait to see price develop here and see how the averages develop as a point of opportunity. But that's the same with euro yen, really. Like, I've identified 157.75, but you can see where the averages are at the moment. Price may pull back. I think it's just, if you're going to apply like support and resistance, just look at the most obvious areas that, you know, your eye is drawn to. You know, I can see that those lows are obviously very important, but we can see these highs were an area that sellers were trying to get involved in the market. They then got stopped out here, and that's why we've had an acceleration to the upside. So let's say we had a daily close above this 159.75. We can kind of round it up a little bit. If we get a close above this swing high on the daily chart, what you can do then is look at price to retrace that daily chart move and then look for an opportunity to get in. What you don't want to see is your daily chart starting to break through this low. If price, let's say, comes all the way back down, trades through that low there, that your bias is gone. Your bias is gone at that point, because in theory, you shouldn't see that in a sort of trending market, and the market sort of should make higher highs and higher lows on your candlesticks, as well as just in general. It's like when you've got this kind of, I don't know, this little bullish example here, for instance, price comes back into previous highs, and then you've got higher highs on your candlesticks and higher lows. That's normal price action. As soon as that changes, you shouldn't be looking to get long anymore unless you come into sort of an area you've identified, I don't know, as a point of support. So yeah, that's obviously something we're looking into. Let's go check out Euro Kiwi then, because I've been asked to look at that by Vincent. So let's go grab Euro Oz, sorry. Let's have a little look here. So you said you've got in at 166.25. Okay, so let's plot that on the chart. I'm going to put in 166.25.7. That's just here. That's a nice move. So yeah, very nice. Again, this is, I would say, this is the sort of epitome of trading from good support and resistance levels. You know, you've got daily lows in here. The market's obviously pushing towards those daily lows. You're in a bit of an upward trend with the market making higher highs and higher lows. So you just want to highlight that level there, for instance, as an area of support. This level here as an area of support. Look for price to come into it, and then it's about identifying what happens at that point. So one thing I would say, if you are struggling to identify how you get into a move, just go onto your chart, and as a bit of sort of like back testing in a way, just grab a rectangle and just plot all the turning points where you thought, yep, the market could turn. Go down to your hourly time frame and see if you can notice any kind of like patterns happening in at those points, right? Here, there is no pattern, okay? The market just breaks to the upside and rallies. So there's no technical pattern in here. Here I can see the market starts to sort of consolidate, breaks back down, and then I can see that the market does form the double bottom pattern down in here, moves to the upside. Price comes in, you've got that almost same little double bottom pattern. Apart from this one does make a lower low, but we do have some divergence going on here with the stochastic, and then the market starts to push to the upside. So try and identify what happens at those turning points. So this is a nice, obviously, support zone that price has come into. Again, look at these wicks as well. Buyers getting involved, price comes back in, buyers getting involved, and then you get that nice change of trend in here. I can see, you know, if you go a little bit lower, inverse head and shoulders, the market starts pushing back to the upside here. I quite like this actually, Vincent. This is a really good trade, especially if you're going at that 166.25.7 area. Nice. Where's your target? So you're looking to target up here. This is where I'd look for some targets towards these swing highs. In and around there. If I could draw these straight, that would help. So those little areas there, those would be my areas to target on this upward move at the moment, especially because you've cleared through a few levels of interest there. You've cleared through a few of these highs already. So the next sort of logical area for price to head towards is this sort of 1.6820 up at these previous swing highs through there. So yeah, I quite like that actually for a long. Let's have a little look at it from a monthly point of view and a weekly. Monthly's just kind of hovering around. Weekly, we can see that there's been some wicks in the market. It looks like we've kind of remained in this kind of channel that I can kind of see. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of sort of channels and whatnot in the market, but I can kind of see that play there. So yeah, nice. Euro getting stronger, obviously, was a big help, which we did identify from the strength meter this week. The euro getting stronger. So Euro Oz was a pretty good one. I did quite like Euro CAD as well. We've obviously had some bad CAD data, I mean, it was poor Euro data as well, sorry, but Euro CAD I did really like for the longs last week. So if we take a look at the weekly chart here, always like to do my analysis on that weekly chart, okay? Always want to do the higher time frame analysis. And we identified price came into this level of support, previous swing lows, came back into it here. We were looking to see if price wants to go and target the next levels of support and resistance up towards these areas. Around about that sort of 48.50, 48.60. And we've got obviously the 143 down in here. So if we just plot a couple of levels through there. 143. Just grab that, come up here. 148.50. Okay. So we're kind of ranging between those 2 points. So when you're at the range lows, obviously you want to be looking to target range highs. So 148.50 looks quite nice. We're kind of mid-range now, so we want to be looking to see if price can come back on some pullbacks. But essentially last week we were here and we were discussing whether, you know, the market could continue to push to the upside at this point. And that was sort of from the strength meter. And yeah, that has continued to push higher, which is nice. If you look at this from a 4-hour point of view, you'll be able to see the sort of development of your trend. What I have been watching is the hourly sort of look at the reaction on the 50 moving average and price. You know, we've got a lot of sort of opportunities where we kind of close back above the 50 and the market kind of reacts from that. So maybe we've still got some opportunity to get into a type of move like that. You know, price comes back down towards this area. We know there's going to be volume through that level because we've consolidated. Maybe we get a break below the 50, back above. Maybe that's something we can look at as a sort of opportunity on EuroCAD to get back in. Obviously, Euros had a little bit of downside going into today. Yeah, Vincent, right. What I've noticed nowadays is that I don't get many trades, but the ones I get move well. I monitor my chart on the 4-hour and enter it on the 15-minute. Brilliant. And that's exactly what you should be looking at. You should be looking at your higher time frame analysis. You should be looking at your higher time frame points of support and resistance, and then looking at the change on the 15-minute time frame. That's absolutely spot on. Let's give Vincent a little bit of a shout out there. Come on, absolute leaps and bounds in your trading, which is fantastic. Let's go take a look at some other markets then. So like I said, I've been monitoring a few charts. One chart that I do quite like the look of is Aussie Swiss. There's actually a bit of a head and shoulders pattern now that price is sort of forming here. But I do quite like this from a weekly point of view. The Australian dollar, it's not really a strong currency at the moment, but I do like the idea of this weekly level sort of working out. The Swiss franc is a weaker currency. I've noticed the Swiss franc getting weaker. So I want to potentially look for opportunities on that Swiss franc. Now here on this weekly chart, what I quite like is the fact that we've rallied. We came into that level of resistance. We've then pushed the downside, actually was shorted in around here, down into this level. And you can see from the stochastic as well, we've got some really strong divergence going on. You've got price that has made sort of an equal low, but then you've got the stochastic that's making a higher low in here. So a little bit of divergence between price and the stochastic. And I mean, the price action on Aussie Swiss is pretty clean when you look at it as this, especially because the idea is to try and see price come up towards the 0.59 handle. So again, let me just plot a couple of things here. 0.59 is the level of interest. We've come down from this level, which is 0.5625. Okay. So you can see this weekly, and I like to follow that weekly chart. We can see we've closed higher on the weekly. Price is now trading through the previous weekly high. And then we go down. We look at the daily chart. What is the daily doing? Well, we can see the daily's reacting to this high in here at the moment. We had a bullish day, bullish close yesterday. So I want to see if that momentum can continue into the next day. And then we go to the 4-hour time frame. And what I was basically looking at is price finding support at previous structure points. You can see here, for instance, price comes in, finds support. Price comes in, finding support at the moment. If you look at the hourly chart, what do we notice? Well, we notice that price has traded above the averages. We've come back in. We've come to an area of support. We've closed back above the averages. Again, this is a sign that maybe we're going to start seeing price push back within the trend. I mean, look at this. When you get the crossover of the 50 and the 200, and then you see price come within, close below, you've got another close below there, but that one wouldn't have been triggered if you used sell stop orders. If you use a sell stop order there, look at the move that you get. Okay, make sure that price comes in the averages first, okay, and then comes out of them. That's what you want to be seeing. You've got kind of these moves down into the lows again. That would have been aggressive considering you're at a weekly support point. But this one here, you know, very, very good moves in that downward trend. So has that trend essentially changed now? And I'm looking at this weekly narrative that price may want to come and trade back up towards the weekly swing highs. Can we look for a trade above that? Just add a little bit of confidence as well. We have breached a trend line resistance. You can see through here, we have this formation point down through here. And yeah, you can see the market has breached that now and is pushing higher. So I think there's quite a bit of interesting stuff going on here. If I was to use a volume profile, I don't have one right now on the MetaTrader 5 platform, but we know that there's an accumulation through here. Okay, so that would be my only sort of warning about this, is that we may get to here, we may rebound. But if the trend's going to stay positive, then I think we've still got the option to look for a continuation into 0.59. So yeah, I'm quite focused on Aussie Swiss at this current moment in time. Looking at the hourly chart as well, you can almost kind of make out, actually, let me go to the 30-minute. We'll go to the 30-minute time frame. You can also make out there's a potential sort of head and shoulders forming in there as well, which could lead to obviously a change of trend, okay? Especially for those traders that particularly look for that type of style. So yeah, Aussie Swiss looking pretty good. Let's go take a quick look at some of our indices. We'll go take a look at the S&P 500. The S&P 500 actually reacted initially from that level we pointed out. So we were looking at a zone through here recently, and there was a really strong support and resistance level running through there. So really long, really high probability volume level. And we initially did get a reaction from that point. And we did get a little bit of a push down, a push back up, sorry. But ever since then, we've kind of sunk a little bit deeper into that. But stock markets at the moment looking very bearish. Okay, look at the monthly chart here. Looking very, very bearish at this current moment in time. Weekly as well, very bearish. But we are towards the support points now. So maybe we'll get a little bit of a rebound here. I would imagine the market's moving into a bit of risk on would also kind of help with this sort of move higher, especially on the S&P 500. But yeah, some interesting moves going on. Obviously, we're coming up to the sort of Santa rally period as well, so we've got to be aware that that could potentially happen. And let's go to... Let's see how gold's performing. Starting to see a bit of a boost to the US dollar now. So a little bit of gold coming back into swing highs, having a little bit of an impact. This gold price is very bullish though at the moment. We can see that quite aggressively. We came into these swing lows down through here around about the $1,800 level. Rebounded from that. Ever since then, really, gold price hasn't looked back too much. And we're now approaching these key swing highs in here. So I like the idea of gold being sort of $2,000 plus, maybe $2,050. I think there's an sort of interesting price being towards this point. Let me just add that there. And then looking at it from a support point, you've got this area down here towards the 1973 area, which I'd be looking at very closely. Price has obviously found a little bit of support there, but if we can push back towards this level, and again, can we find some buyers stepping in? Can that then lead to price moving back to the upside? I like the idea of price being back towards this $2,050 area. We're breaching all sorts of highs here, you know, so like I said, it kind of makes sense. If price is moving higher, where's it going to go target? It's going to go target those areas where sellers have been interested in the past. That area is obviously very, very noticeable to us. So I think that a drive into that point could be highly likely. It's interesting as well to see that obviously the dollar's gaining strength and gold is also strong. We don't usually see that type of correlation. We usually see, because obviously gold is pegged to the US dollar, so we often see if the dollar's strong, gold weak. We're not really seeing that at the moment. Although we have seen that kind of short-term weakness in the dollar, gold hasn't really benefited too much from that. So is gold being used as a little bit of a hedge to any kind of sort of upsets in the market at the moment? I think that's definitely something that's there to explore. But yeah, some big levels being tested definitely for those. So like I said, guys, I like the US dollar index. I like the idea of being, fairly bullish this market. I think we're going to be, like I said, tagging these highs next. I think is the next sort of area to go. I like the 108s as well on the US dollar index, but I'm going to leave it there. Don't need to go over too much right now. We've got obviously Fed data tomorrow, so I'll be doing a little bit of a video on that going into tomorrow. I'll break down what could potentially happen. As always, guys, if you could leave a like on the stream if you did learn something new, I really appreciate that. Or if you like the analysis and the breakdowns, please leave a thumbs up. And yeah, if you're around on Thursday, I'll be doing another live stream. We'll probably be reacting to what happened in that Federal Reserve interest rate decision as well. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Bongo. Thank you, Asim, for leaving some comments today. And I will catch you all on Thursday. Cheers.